Hey everyone, so a lot of you have been asking for non-rum based tiki cocktails, and while there aren't a ton of them, gin actually happens to be the second most commonly used spirit in tiki. Today we're going to be going over a bourbon cocktail, a bourbon classic tiki cocktail from Trader Vic. Or is it from Trader Vic? Well, I'll tell you after the intro. But anyway, I'm Andy, this is Easy Tiki Drinks, and today we're going to be making a port light, so let's do this. So the port light is a classic tiki bourbon-based cocktail, and there's actually a few different recipes out there. If you go to the Total Tiki app, you're gonna see one. If you go to Smuggler's Cove, you're gonna see another one. So which one's right? Well, originally a lot of people thought that this was a Trader Vic cocktail, simply because in Trader Vic's bartending guide of 1972, it shows up. However, it looks a little bit different than the recipe I'm gonna be doing today. In his recipe, it more closely resembles the Smuggler's Cove recipe that Martin Cate uses, which is going to have bourbon, honey, grenadine, lime juice, and egg white. The recipe we're going to go over today is actually my take on an earlier version of it, but a different cocktail. Anyway, let's see what we're going to need to make my port light, and then we'll get into this. So to make our port light, we are going to need bourbon, Passionfruit Liqueur, Grenadine, lemon juice, Aromatic Bitters, and Saline Solution. Now the recipe that I base my port light on is actually from an earlier recipe that we find in 1961 from Sandro Conti of the Kahiki. Now his recipe also uses bourbon, also uses grenadine, but it uses passion fruit syrup and lemon juice and no egg white. And that's what I based mine on. Now, where did the name come from? Well, the name port light is probably associated with the glass it was originally served in, and that was this kind of barrel-shaped red lantern-looking mug that was used, actually created from actual lamps on boats, or it was a replica of one in a mug form. But essentially, in the old day, boats used to have two lanterns, one on the port side and one on the starboard side. The one on the port side was red, the one on the starboard side was green. And what this did is allowed other passing ships in the night to know which direction a ship was heading. Actually, Trader Vic does have a starboard light cocktail, which I find to be pretty atrocious. If you'd like to see my take on that, drop a comment below and let me know. Let's make my version of the port light. I'll talk about some of the choices I made, sip on it, and yeah, we'll get into this thing. All right, so let's grab our shaking tin. In your shaking tin, you are going to add 5 drops of 20% saline solution, 3 dashes of aromatic bitters, 1 ounce or 30 milliliters of lemon juice, half an ounce or 15 milliliters of grenadine, half an ounce or 15 milliliters of passion fruit liqueur, 2 ounces or 60 milliliters of bourbon. Add a little bit of pebble ice to your shaking tin, and give it a nice shake for about 5 to 8 seconds. Grab a footed pilsner's glass and open pour in. Top with more pebble ice, and garnish with a mint sprig, lemon wheel, and a Surfside sip straw. And there you have it, my version of the 1961 Sandro Conti port light. Let's give it a try. So that is a super well balanced cocktail. We get the acidity from the lemon juice, we get the sweetness from the grenadine. That passion fruit liqueur is doing a wonderful job of bringing up like a back end note of it, and all of this is riding on this wave of bourbon that is so present. It is wonderful and gorgeous. Now, for those of you paying attention that have already gone to the Total Tiki app, my recipe is a little bit different than the 1961 version from Sandro Conti. Let's talk about some of my choices. First of all, I like to season my cocktails with some saline solution and aromatic bitters. The aromatic bitters that I'm using today are from the Bitter Truth Company. Next up is the grenadine, and honestly, I think it's what makes or breaks this cocktail. A, for color alone, and B, taste. And the original recipe is only a 1/4 ounce. I upped it to a 1/2 ounce because I want that sweetness and I want that vibrant red color. Now, for my grenadine, I went with BJ Reynolds Lush Grenadine. It doesn't really matter which grenadine you use as long as it's a high quality grenadine. Do not go out and buy Rose's grenadine and use that in this. While the color will be good, it will be overly sweet. Next up is the passion fruit syrup in the original recipe. We see 1/2 ounce. I actually swapped mine out for a passion fruit liqueur. The reason being is the passion fruit syrup, I find, plays really weirdly with bourbon and leaves this lingering aftertaste that I don't love. Instead, swapping out for a passion fruit liqueur is still gonna give us that passion fruit flavor that comes through and the sweetness, but it plays so much better with the bourbon. And for my passion fruit liqueur, I'm going with a Giffard's. You could also use something like a Gerard or any other passion, or a Chinola, or any other passion fruit liqueur that you can get your hands on. And finally, we have our bourbon. In the original recipe, we see 1.5 ounces. Honestly, I think that's too small. I like my cocktails a little bit boozy. I mean, this is tiki after all, right? Come on. So I up ours to about 2 ounces. Now again, that's also because I upped the sweetness from the Grenadine to 1/2 ounce, and I want to be able to balance this cocktail out properly. Now the bourbon that I'm using today was actually gifted to me from Shadow Ridge, and it's a wonderful bourbon that I love, but at any given point, use any of your favorite bourbons at home. So that's my version of the 1961 Port Light, which is a version of the 1972 Port Light from Trader Vic's. Is it though? The 1961 came first. You tell me, what do you guys think? Which one is the original? The one with the honey and the egg white, or the one with the grenadine and the passion fruit? Drop a comment below. You tell me which one you think is the original Port Light recipe. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. That's it for today's video. Nice, short, sweet. We made a cocktail. It's delicious. I'm gonna go enjoy it. If you did like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click that little notification bell, follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at EasyTikiDrinks. If you wanna see how I came about coming up with this recipe, I actually have a workshopping video over on Patreon that I posted about how I workshop cocktails like this to take an original, a classic tiki cocktail and make it what I think a little bit better. But again, better is subjective. You tell me. You think this? Try this one out. If you think it's better than the original, the 1961 recipe, definitely drop a comment below. Actually, if you don't think it's better, still drop a comment below and tell me why. I'd love to hear it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. That's it for today's video. And until next time, guys, you know the deal. Take it easy.